Are we still being recorded?
No, now start again.
During the Depression, there weren't too many of us that finished high school. The primary point of life then was survival. In other words, you're looking for some kind of employment to maintain just living. So, needless to say, I left high school my junior year to go to work. There was work available in Newport, Rhode Island, like I said. There's a lot of construction being started for rebuilding the naval base, naval base there. And I went there and I worked there for a few years till Pearl Harbor, which was on December 7th, 1941.
What were you doing when Pearl Harbor was attacked? Do you remember that day?
The day Pearl Harbor was on a Sunday, so I was with a number of friends, and we just heard the news, and we were flabbergasted. We couldn't really understand the meaning of it, but we knew that negotiations were going on in Washington with the Japanese embassy, ambassadors, try to negotiate some kind of agreement. I forget what the agreement was they were trying to agree upon, but something to do with the country's I don't know, status of some kind. Well, anyway, while the ambassadors were negotiating in Washington, they bombed Pearl Harbor. There was a sneak attack, and of course we were all flabbergasted that something like that could happen. And well, it was shortly after that that we were all called to enlist into what they call the I forget what they call it. Can you erase some of this thing?
Yeah, I can erase it later.
All right.
What, did you lie to me? You forget?
What the heck
You're
they call
senile?
it? Huh?
You forget?
I'm trying to think of what that.
Okay, think about it. It's okay.
Everybody had to sign up for the
draft? There's no draft.
That's it, the draft.
Yeah. You forgot the draft.
Everybody had to sign up for the draft. To be ready to be inducted into military service for the country. Are we back on?
Yep, we've been on. It just keeps rolling. I'll delete it later.
Well, as time went, this is being at 41 December. The year 42 came rather fast. And meanwhile, most of my friends were being drafted before me, being a little older age. That's the way the draft was considered by age group. It was, as I can remember, was the draftee, to be drafted, you had to be to register, you had to be between the age of 18 and 38. 38 was the cutoff. And most of my friends were a little older than I was. Well, they were drafted before I was, and I was there left behind with all my friends gone. I figured, hey, I got to go follow them. So I enlisted before I was drafted. You might say I was ready to be drafted, but I took an earlier enlistment.
Because you wanted to hang out with your friends?
Huh?
Because you wanted to go with your friends?
No, I wanted to be with my friends. You know, it's well, after my enlistment, I had to go to Boston Army base for physical. Had my physical done in Boston Air Base, Boston Army base. And from there, they sent me to Fort Devens, Massachusetts. Fort Devens was where we took aptitude tests. They give you aptitude tests to see what you were most qualified for. After a few days, after taking aptitude tests, they'd send you designated areas where you're going to be. Army or infantry or whatever. Well, I happened to be put into the Army Air section. Mm-hmm. From the Army Air section, they stayed there after a few days, and then they sent us to Atlantic City, New Jersey, where we stayed in the hotels, big hotels, which the military had taken over, you know. And it was just a holding area till they got you. It was such a rapid recruiting that they had to find places to put the recruits. Well, it was sort of a holding place, or you know, temporarily till they get you found an appropriate place for you to go. Well, from there, after 3 weeks there, they sent me to Scottsfield, Illinois, Belleville, Illinois, outside of St. Louis. And I was assigned to a radio school. And we spent 4 months learning Morse code mostly. We started with 8 words a minute, up to 10 words a minute, 12 words a minute, 16 words a minute. Some attained a higher number of words per minute. I attained the 16, which was qualified me for being certified. After that, I was sent to Louisville, Kentucky. That was only a temporary measure. I stayed there for approximately 3 weeks. After that, was sent to Maxton, North Carolina. Maxton, North Carolina was a troop carrier base. Primarily, our function was to transport paratroopers. We worked with the 101st Airborne Infantry out of Fayetteville, North Carolina. We were approximately 35 miles from there. Our function was to take paratroopers aboard and train them over in the drop areas. Also, we were trying to take, what they are called, gliders. We had gliders also. We had gliders which we carried. And they had airborne infantry in the gliders. And we used to take those and drop them off. And we were getting prepared for invasion of Europe. Well, after a while, I guess the call came in that they needed people over in China, Burma, India. And I happened to be one of them called. Me, Ralph Crispin, a few others, Ralph Crispin being one of my closest friends. And we gathered our stuff and we went down to the train. Everything went by train in those days. And we were shipped down to Homestead Field, down to Florida. From Homestead Field, we boarded the plane. It was a C-54. It was a big four engine. It was the biggest aircraft at that time. And from there, we went to Colombo, Colombia. From there to Natal, Brazil to Ascension Island, Ascension Island to Gold Coast, from Gold Coast, someplace in Middle Africa, I forget where it was. And from there, I went to Italian Somalia, now called Somalia. From there, I went to Cairo, and from there I went to someplace in Persia, now called Iran, and from there to Karachi, India, now called Pakistan, Karachi, Pakistan. From there to Agra, India. From Agra, India to Zinjan. Zinjan, I spent time there for a couple of weeks. Zinjan being in the northeastern part of India, close to the Himalayas. Experienced first bombing by Japanese, dropping bombs in the runway, or close to the runway, as I remember. Witnessing my first American fatality, which was an American lieutenant. And after spending 3 weeks or so there, they sent me down to Tezpur, India. I spent maybe 3 months at Tezpur. Then from there, after spending some time, they sent me down to Jorhat. From Jorhat, we started flying into Kunming. I flew as a radio operator on the C-47s. We made numerous flights. Some flights were not completed. We couldn't make them because icing on the wings. We couldn't make the keep the elevation, a safe elevation, because of high mountain peaks. I'd say almost half of the flights over there were returns, where you made it part way and you couldn't go any further. After spending time there, I was transferred to Shabwa. Around that time, we started to get new and bigger aircraft coming into the area. They were called C-46s. C-46s had bigger engines. They were bigger airplanes that could carry a bigger load. And they were built primarily for higher altitudes. They withstand they could carry a bigger payload. And so the aircraft started to come in. They gradually phased us out and moved us to another base inland, which is to Dum Dum. I went to Dum Dum after spending about approximately 9 months up in Assam Valley, Shabwa, Jorhat, Dinjan, and Tezpur. And out of Dum Dum, what we did is fly into Karachi. We flew many missions of transporting aircraft parts, ammunitions, and the likes of that into Karachi, which was a port of entry for ship supplies. We flew into Bangalore and Ceylon. We just flew all over the biggest part of India.
Mm-hmm. Can we take a break just for a sec? I want to turn off the TV.